Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find links to all the episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. There are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and some other items there with designs made by friends of the show. Also, please follow friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays when she's able to make it. Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, who does a show on Sundays and sometimes other days, but usually Sundays, on all things paranormal, and I join him for that as well. And Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio, which I call into frequently also, and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own online 24/7 for free. A couple of announcements. This will come out. This show will come out not right away, so people will already probably be aware of this if you are in my server. But I'm really excited and happy to announce that I have a couple new features on the website. One is a place where you can actually fill out a form and to send your experience to me so I can read it on the show. And go from there. And then if you have multiple experiences, you can send multiple times. Or just if you want to be on the show, you can also still use that form for that as well, just to give me an idea of what you'll want to be talking about. The other thing is now there is a link on the website to go right to the radio station I was talking about. So special thanks to Mike. Speaking of which, hello there. I see you in the chat for setting all that up and the website in general as well. So really appreciate that, because I don't know how long it would take me to try to do that on my own. So yeah, really grateful for all that. And I think that covers everything. I'll talk about that more going forward here and bring that up. I still have to sort of add things to my written introduction and maybe to my usual spoken introduction to the show. So I'm going to be taking care of that over the next couple of days here. But let me see here. Let's get to the document and get to these true stories, true paranormal stories from the web. This first one, I scrolled too far. I scrolled too far this time. Anyway, says, I had an event that neither my girlfriend or I can explain in any way, and I hope someone here might have an explanation for it, because it really freaked me out. About a week ago, both of us were at my parents' house. It was late evening. My girlfriend read a book, and I was gaming until around 3 o'clock. Night owl. We decided to go to sleep, got ready for bed, and laid down. Next to my bed is a big closet with a neon tube on top as a side light. So I turned it off and closed my eyes to sleep. However, I opened them for a few moments later because something didn't feel right, and I didn't know what exactly it was until I noticed a small football-sized sphere-like glow on the wall opposite of the bed, just on the wall. Not really glowing, but more like a faint dimness. It looked like a glowing ball of fog, barely even visible. So I thought my eyes just had a problem. But I blinked and it rubbed them and it didn't go away. So I asked my girlfriend if she could see the light over there. And she said, "Oh, so I don't have a problem with my eyes." She was seeing it too. I turned the lamp back on, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing, besides the bare white wall. Then I turned it off, and the glow was there again, just as before. I first, let me see here. I first, unless I saw that, I first thought it might be an afterglow of the neon tube, but first it was a consistent white appearance, not changing light levels, not glimmering out or anything. It was just there. And secondly, the tube had to be reflected in the glass of the window if it was still glowing, which it was not. Just this barely visible fog sphere next to the window. This boggled my mind, and I have no explanation for this at all, so thoughts would be very appreciated. After a few minutes, both of us just staring at it, I grabbed my phone and tried to take a picture, a photo, to see if the camera could see it as well. It could not. The photo was totally dark. The exposure was 9 seconds, I think. And a few seconds after I took the photo, the light just disappeared. It did not move in any way. Just poof, gone. The closest I can compare this to would be the disappearance of a 3D sphere in a 2D flatland. The glow grew smaller and smaller, not in the light level, but in size, and after around 5 seconds, it was gone. Also, I should add, I live in Germany. The room was totally dark, no light at all because of the roller shades at the windows, except for that thing of course. We both have no idea what to make of it, and thoughts would be much appreciated. And that's where that one ends. That's fascinating. I've heard of fog before, but I don't know if I've ever heard of like a sphere of fog that's kind of just dim. Um, so that is fascinating. And I would think if there was any kind of, I wouldn't, I would, I've never heard of fog sort of slipping in through like the cracks in a window frame or anything like that. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. And even then, if it did, how would it be formed into a sphere? So it does seem, at least to me, I could be wrong, does seem anomalous. I'm also fascinated by the fact that the lamp didn't sort of make it leave, but taking the picture on the phone possibly did. And of course, that could be just the way it seemed. It could have had nothing to do with it. But so often with especially lights and orbs, they'll sort of and of course the whole UFO lore and all that. When people try to take pictures, a lot of times their cameras either won't work, and or the anomaly will just go away, whatever it is, before the person has a chance to take a good picture of it. So that is, I don't know what to make of that. It's an odd one. It's not like a really bright light. I've heard more of that. I don't think I've ever heard of sort of a fog sphere. That's just very faint light. If it was a light, I'm not sure. So yeah, I thought that one was unique, uh, based on all the others I've found before of similar sightings of things. This next one says, this happened back in early 2018. I lived in a very small apartment building made up of roughly 8 apartments. The apartment building was located in a quiet residential neighborhood near a known rough side of town. We had a small parking lot in the back of the building. One evening, after coming home from the store, I was unloading my groceries from my trunk. The sun was setting, but not completely set, so I still had pretty clear visibility outside of my surroundings. While unloading my bags, I got an eerie feeling. I remember turning to my left and to look out onto the quiet street with cars parked uh, next to the parking lot, and I saw what I believed to be a faceless figure standing near a parked car, watching me. I remember I saw no distinct facial features, and from the neck down, it was black. I felt my heart sink, and fear overcame me as I slammed my trunk shut and ran to the back door of my building. It was normally unlocked and propped open, but today it was locked. I shakily fished for my key and struggled to open the door as I, at the same time, called my dad because I didn't know what else to do and needed to talk to someone. I was on the verge of tears while I described what I saw to him as I slammed the door shut behind me when I finally got inside. I made sure it was locked before I went to my personal apartment door and unlocked it and went inside. At the time, I wholeheartedly felt like I just saw Slender Man. Funny thing is, I was a young adult at the time and hadn't thought about Slender Man since I was a teen. I just really felt it in my soul that I saw him, which is weird because he's a character in an online fiction forum. I remember my dad being the only person I told about this. A few months later, my coworker and new roommate witnessed the same thing. I had never mentioned to her what I saw or anything even remotely paranormal happening. She was coming home from work one day. It was still daylight, but not sunny outside. She told me she saw a very tall figure with no distinct facial features and black lower half with tentacles on the corner of a street, a little further than where I witnessed what I saw. She ran inside the apartment and locked the door until I got home, and then told me. I turned white when I told her I saw the same thing. Mind you, again, we are grown at this point and not actively into horror websites or anything similar. But of course, we were aware of the popular ones uh, from when we were teens. Has anyone else had a similar experience? This situation has freaked me out all these years, and it never happened again the rest of the duration while we were in that apartment. And that's where that one ends. Uh, I've heard of accounts of people seeing figures similar to um, the fictional figure known as Slender Man before those posts went up online. There's a book, and I forget the exact title, but Nick Redfern did a book on the whole. I think it was called the Slender Man Mysteries, but I could be wrong on that. I listened to it a while ago, and there's sightings of similar things before all that started and all the terrible events that happened with that. We don't need to get into here, but and so I'm not surprised that they saw something that looks similar. I do wonder how often entities can take on different appearances based on popular culture, based on the thoughts of people. Um, Maybe it took on that form around the same time as those posts, those fiction posts were online, and just found that it worked for whatever its purpose was, possibly frightening people, and stuck with it. At least in this case. But I don't know what that was. It's just odd that this is the first time I think I've come across that exact reference for my show anyway, as far as a personal experience that I found online. But I've heard of it, and like I said, uh, Nick Redfern is a great writer, as far as I can tell, a great researcher. I definitely recommend his books, and he has a book on that, and about a couple of books, at least a few books on shadow figures and Men in Black, and especially Men in Black, and so black-eyed kids in some cases. So definitely, if you're looking for any of that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend him because I've enjoyed overall his books over the years. So, but yeah, I'm glad that they didn't see anything else after that, uh, either of them. It is fascinating that this a second person saw the same thing without being told by the first person about that experience. That always, to me, makes me think there's not any conscious influence anyway um, going on there. So, but yeah, it's I do think there's all kinds of beings out there, and some take on forms that they hear people or pick out from people's thoughts and use them for their own agendas, whatever they may be, good or bad. Moving on to this next one here. This one says, well, basically, a long time ago, an uncle of mine, a former soldier, told me that while he was in the service, he experienced some paranormal things in the barracks. He and his comrades suffered them. Suffered them. He had a comrade they called Giggles because when they were asleep and all the lights were off, he would start bothering them with a macabre laugh. I think you understand what I mean. And it made all his comrades laugh because it was scary. Well, to make a long story short, one day they had to go out on an emergency. They had to attend to a shootout with the gangs in the area, and unfortunately, Giggles died. He was the one with the best sense of humor of all his comrades, and everything went dark again. He wasn't there anymore to make them laugh. From then on, paranormal things started happening at the barracks, like the lights turning off and his colleagues waking up in the night. This went on for a few months. One day, my uncle said he was on guard duty, and he and his partner were smoking when he heard a macabre laugh behind him. He and his partner got scared and became serious. The last thing that happened, he told me, was that while one of his colleagues was in the bathroom, someone knocked on the door. He answered, "It's occupied." They knocked again, and he angrily yelled that it was occupied. Then they heard that same laugh again. My uncle said he came out of the bathroom pale. My uncle told me that that was the last day anything paranormal happened there. And, well, that's what happened to my uncle. It's not very scary for some people, but that's what happened to my uncle. And that's where that one ends. That one is fascinating. I've heard of, we hear so often of paranormal activity starting after someone passes, and in many cases, it's activities that seems to fit their personality. Other cases it doesn't, and that's where people start to wonder if it's not the relative. But that the laughter and everything, and the sort of joking around, knocking on the door, turning on the lights or off the lights, all these kinds of things uh, seem like they would fit that kind of a character. So, so yeah, and I'm glad that it stopped. Hopefully, that means that this person's energy or soul or spirit found peace wherever they went to, and hopefully that's the end of that. We can get one more in here because it's not a long one. This one says, "My son just said the weirdest thing, and I don't know if I'm misremembering or making it up. He just said, 'I picked you to be my parents.' I asked what he meant, and he said he saw a bunch of parents and picked us. Then I just started tearing up, not sure if I remember something. I feel like there's something I know unconsciously, but I can't put my finger on it. I feel like I remember being with someone before my birth, almost like a presence of a being, but without a body." And that's where that one ends. It's a shorter one, but it's fascinating. And I've heard accounts of that before. I may have shared one or two on the show of kids saying things like that. Or talking about, remember when, basically, when they would ask their parents, remember when our roles were reversed? I was your parent and you were my child. And I forget where I heard that from, but so that's fascinating. Now, the detail there about uh, being in a room, uh, let's see. No, actually, it doesn't say. Let's see here. So yeah, just says that he saw a bunch of people. The son saw a bunch of people. Doesn't say they were in a room necessarily, but and the son picked the writer and their spouse. So that's fascinating. And I've heard of that. I've heard of kids having memories, even adults in some rare cases having memories of being present for the wedding, their parents' wedding, just floating sort of in the air nearby. That's one story I shared in true story I shared in the show a few years ago. And so it's fascinating. There does seem to be connections in some cases. Just had one recently where, the last few months or so, where someone wrote in about their wife being able to see the spirits of their future children, and the spirits appearing as children, not just as orbs or as babies, but actual, like, toddlers or a little bit older than that. So there's a lot that seems to go on with that connection between parents and children that is more than just in this physical existence. But so that's fascinating to me. That's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.